In World War II, medics raced under fire. In this video, we will cover every medical vehicle used in World War II by the major powers. Let's start with Germany today. A 251 half-track refit with stretcher racks and room for medics. It could reach wounded close to the fighting, then pull back under armor, though the inside was tight. Often it waited just behind the lead companies, ready to dash forward when the firing dipped. Steyer's 1500A carried a tall medical box for road evacuations. It rode better than many light trucks, but without armor, it depended on speed, routes, and luck. Its all-wheel drive helped in snow and farm lanes, but it still avoided the worst shelling. Opel Blitz ambulances did the everyday hauling between aid posts, railheads, and hospitals. Parts were common, yet the marked body also made it easy to spot. Some bodies were simple canvas conversions, others proper ambulance vans, depending on workshops and time. This light ambulance car handled a quick pickup, and the doctor runs on firm roads. It could carry a single stretcher or a seated casualty, plus dressings, but it was never a front-line ride. In mud, rubble, or shell holes, it struggled, so it stayed a rear area helper. A sidecar rig could carry a wounded man or a medical kit through narrow tracks and traffic. It was fast and cheap, but the rider and patient were exposed. Sanitary trailers added stretchers, blankets, and supplies behind cars or trucks. They boosted capacity with little cost, though they slowed badly on rough ground. These trucks hauled tents, tables, lights, and medicine for a field aid station. They set up a small clinic near the line, then packed up before danger found them. Hospital trains moved large numbers of wounded from forward railheads to safer cities. They carried bunks and medical staff, but a blown bridge could stop everything. Germany built an evacuation chain on wheels and rails. Next, America's medical fleet runs on standard trucks and boats. The WC-54 was the classic U.S. ambulance, a Dodge 4x4 with a tall box body. It carried several litters, handled poor roads, and kept units moving. Medics liked the predictable layout because every minute inside counted when roads were shaking. The WC-9 filled the role early with a simpler body and less space. It still moved casualties reliably, but later ambulances improved access, storage, and lighting. A Sd.Kfz could be fitted as an ambulance for longer runs, with more room for staff and gear. It hauled wounded between railheads, ports, and bigger hospitals. A Jeep could carry a stretcher on racks or tow a small trailer for medics. You might see it towing a small trailer packed with plasma, bandages, and blankets. It reached places trucks could not, but casualties rode with no cover. In deep snow and soft ground, the M29 Weasel carried wounded where wheels failed. It was a lifesaver in winter terrain, just noisy and lightly protected. The DUKW hauled casualties from beaches and flooded routes to aid stations. It rolled and floated, which mattered on landings, even if the ride was wet. Hospital ships acted as traveling hospitals with surgery rooms and wards. Some were purpose-built, others converted liners, but all focused on clean wards and steady triage. They received wounded from landing craft and transports, then carried them away from the front. Moving on, the Soviets did it at scale, across mud, snow, and long retreats. The GAZ-55 used a dedicated ambulance body on a light truck. It carried litters and a medic, and it kept working in cold and dusty conditions, just not quickly. The ZIS-5 carried more weight and took longer routes, often with improvised medical fittings. It ran in convoys under air threat, and mechanics never stopped. 6 wheels gave the GAZ a better traction in muddy seasons. As an ambulance, it pushed into roads that barely existed, while fuel and tires stayed scarce. Lend-Lease US-6 trucks were prized for reliability and strong engines. With medical bodies, they moved wounded fast and kept pace with advancing formations. Field workshops turned plain trucks into ambulances using wood frames, canvas, and simple litter racks. They were rough, but they filled gaps quickly. Some trucks carried surgical gear and power for urgent work near the front. They stabilized men who could not wait, then handed them down the chain. Sanitary trains moved wounded across huge distances with bunks, kitchens, and medical teams. Winter heating was basic. They saved road transport, but stations and tracks were targets. If you enjoy this calm hardware tour, subscribe for more World War II support vehicles, nation by nation, each week. Up next, Britain showed a practical mix of purpose-built ambulances and smart conversions. The Austin K2/Y is the classic British ambulance shape, tall and roomy for several litters. It served from desert roads to Normandy lanes and took punishment well. Bedford trucks handled longer medical runs with ambulance bodies or adapted interiors. They moved casualties from forward stations to larger hospitals, steady and easy to service. Morris ambulances were lighter and quicker for local pickup jobs. They worked well on paved routes, but deep mud and shell holes could stop them fast. Tracked carriers were sometimes adapted to move wounded over cratered ground. They crawled to casualty points, then passed patients to wheeled ambulances behind the line. Airborne forces used light jeeps to haul stretchers and medical packs after drops. They linked scattered positions quickly, though the crews had almost no protection. Rail ambulances and hospital trains carried wounded within Britain and across linked networks. Stations became transfer hubs, and long trips were smoother than road travel. Hospital ships moved casualties across seas and offered surgery, wards, and recovery space. Weather, mines, and air threats still made every crossing tense. Next on the list, Italy fought with fewer modern options, leaning on adaptable trucks and short routes. The Fiat 626 was a common truck base for Italian ambulances. It moved litters and supplies on routine runs, but heat, dust, and weak logistics wore it down. The SPA Dovunque handled rough tracks better than many Italian vehicles. Fitted for medical work, it could reach broken roads, yet shortages often limited its use. Small Fiat medical cars handled quick pickups and liaisons. They worked best on firm roads, carrying one casualty or a medic team, and they were vulnerable to air attack. Hospital rail cars moved wounded when trucks were scarce or fuel was short. Trains carried more patients, but bombed lines and damaged stations slowed everything. Hospital ships carried wounded between North Africa, the islands, and Italy. They eased pressure on roads and rail, though air attack and mines still threatened the route. Italy's medical transport shows the strain of supply and air threat. Japan's system stretched across huge distances and tough terrain. Type 94-based ambulances moved casualties on narrow roads near towns and rail links. In jungle mud and rain, speed vanished, and breakdowns became common. Medium trucks, including Type 97-based vehicles, carried stretcher racks for longer evacuation. They served in China and island defenses, while mechanics fought humidity and scarce parts. Improvised ambulances used canvas covers, painted markings, and simple stretcher lash-ups on whatever trucks were available. They were basic, but they kept men moving to the next stop. Hospital ships and converted transports carried wounded across long ocean gaps. They offered beds and staff, yet submarine and air threats made every voyage tense. Across deserts, snow, and surf, these medical rides bought time. Now we wrap up this tour of life-saving machines together, right now. From box ambulances to tracked carriers, medical vehicles saved time and lives. Which nation's setup impressed you most? Comment below.